John Locke, the Philosopher of Freedom, 1632 to 1704. The smell of gunpowder hung in the air. It was 1642, and England was at war with itself. On one side stood the king, claiming divine right, on the other, Parliament, demanding liberty. In the chaos of that age, a world divided between crown and conscience, a boy named John Locke was growing up, watching the old order crumble. He would become the man who gave that chaos meaning. Locke was born into revolution. His father fought for Parliament against King Charles I. He grew up hearing the thunder of muskets and the arguments of philosophers. Why, he wondered, should one man rule another by birth alone? Years later, as a scholar at Oxford, Locke studied medicine, theology, and philosophy. But what fascinated him most was the mind itself. He believed that every person entered the world not stained by sin or fate, but as a blank slate, a tabula rasa. All ideas, he wrote, come from experience. It was a quiet but revolutionary idea, that knowledge was not inherited from authority or revelation, but discovered through reason and observation. The same mind that learned from nature could also judge kings. In 1689, Locke published his masterpiece, Two Treatises of Government. It was a direct challenge to tyranny, written while he lived in exile in Holland, fleeing political persecution. He wrote that government exists by the consent of the governed, not by the will of God. Kings were not divine shepherds, people were not their sheep. Each human being, Locke declared, was born with natural rights. Life, liberty, and property. No ruler could take them away. If a government became corrupt, the people not only had the right, but the duty, to overthrow it. His words were dynamite wrapped in reason. When Locke returned to England, the glorious revolution had just ended. King James II had fled, and Parliament had invited William and Mary to rule under a constitutional monarchy. Locke's philosophy had found its moment. His ideas became the moral foundation of a new political age. But his legacy would not stop there. A century later, across the Atlantic, a young lawyer named Thomas Jefferson would read Locke's words and reshape them into the heart of the American Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Locke's vision stretched beyond politics. In his essay concerning human understanding, he explored how the mind forms ideas and how tolerance must guide society. The great question, he wrote, is not whether there be truth, but whether we have sought it with freedom. He lived quietly in his later years, surrounded by books and gardens, reflecting on the order of nature and the reason of man. When he died in 1704, his epitaph read, "He loved liberty in all her forms." John Locke never commanded armies, nor built empires. But with ink and thought, he built something greater, a world where authority bowed before reason, and where freedom was not a privilege of the few, but the birthright of all. He did not just write philosophy. He wrote the blueprint for democracy.